Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I have my update for Pan Those Eyeshadows. This is easily one of my favorite projects to work on, to film, to watch other people do. So I just absolutely love this project. So I have my 5 palettes that I have been working on for the past month stacked up here, and I will be running through each of the shades I had in and my progress on them, if they're rolling out or staying in. But before we get into the video, if you would consider subscribing, I would greatly appreciate it. I post a lot of eyeshadow palette content, tutorials, panning projects, some other makeup content as well, so if any of that interests you, definitely subscribe and we can jump into today's update. So I refreshed this project a couple months ago and I added in a new rule and a slightly different way of rolling shades in. So my rules for this project to roll shades out are to hit pan, to use a shade 10 or more times, to have it in the project for 2 or more months, and my new rule, which is inspired by Emily Max's project, is to hit pan on a shade in the same palette as a shade I'm working on. So if I have one shade in from a palette but I hit pan on another, I can roll that entire palette out. So I am working on 5 shades at a time and they are randomized from my collection. So I will go ahead and start with the first shade I have rolled in. So the first shade I have to talk about comes from my ColourPop Main Squeeze palette, and it is the shade Big Gulp. So Big Gulp is this matte orangish shade over here. This has actually been a lot of fun to work on, so I have used it 4 times this past month for a total of 7 uses within this project. It has been in for 2 months, so I am going to be rolling this one out, but I have enjoyed this one so much more than I kind of expected to. I have mentioned in past videos that I am not the biggest fan of orange eyeshadow, but I have really enjoyed reaching for this shade and reaching for this palette. 7 uses total within this project, which personally for me is not a bad use number. I feel like I tend to do less than that, so I'm pretty proud of that, especially for such a warm tone monochromatic palette. This has been a great time of year to work on it, with being in the fall season. This is definitely when I'm reaching for these types of shades, so I think that definitely helped a lot, and I've been working on a couple other oranges in my projects as well, so this one has honestly been so much fun to work on, and I am really happy to have gotten some good progress on it. There isn't a ton of visible use on it, but I definitely know I have been reaching for it, and that's been super exciting for me, but I am ready to roll something new in its place. So next up we have my Rude Cosmetics Roaring 20s Neons palette, and I have been working on the shade See Me. So See Me is this shade down at the bottom, and I only used it once this past month for a total of 7 uses within this project. I did so good on this the first month, but really just fell behind in my uses this month, which I'm a little disappointed in, but it's still 7 total uses, which is pretty good for me, and you can definitely see some good progress on the shade. There is a small dip starting to form in here, so I am pretty happy with the progress I've made. And since it has been in for 2 months, I am going to be rolling this one out, but it has been super fun to work on, and I definitely love to see the little dip forming. I mostly use this one in the outer corner with more pink toned looks, and I really did enjoy using it that way. This is a shade I have kind of found a new appreciation for. It wasn't one I had reached for a ton from this palette beforehand, so I am really happy that this one got rolled in, and I do know that I will continue to reach for this one in the future, which is super exciting, and eventually I will be able to get a pan in the shade, but it is not going to happen with this project quite yet. Next up we have my beautiful Shellz Karma Chameleon quad. This is the peach quad, and I do have an affiliate link with Beautiful Shellz if you are interested. It is always linked in my description box, and you can use my code JJBeauty to save 10%. No pressure to use it, but I do just want to put that out there. So from this palette, I have been working on the very first shade. So that is this matte oranges shade over here, another one of the oranges I have been working on this past month. So I have reached for this one 3 times this past month for a total of 6 uses within this project, which I am super happy about. Again, this one has been in for the 2 months, so it will be rolling out because there is not really any visible progress on this shade, but I am happy to have gotten a few good uses on this shade. This is a really nice one. I would use it to kind of start my looks for orangey tone looks, and I really love this shade in here, so I was able to reach for that one a couple times with the shade I've been working on, so that was super fun. It just gave me a good opportunity to reach into this palette and get some good use. But like I said, this one is going to be rolling out since it has been in for the 2 months. So next up we have my I Heart Revolution and Moana palette, and I have been working on the shade Oceana. So Oceana is this bluish green shade up here, and I have reached for this one 3 times this past month for a total of 5 uses within this project, which honestly I am quite happy about. This shade is just a little bit out of my comfort zone, and especially for this time of year, I feel like this is a shade I would want to reach for more in the summer, but I was able to get some good use on it for this project, which I'm super happy about. I know I combined it with some oranges shades. I really enjoyed blending it in with neutral shades in the outer corner to make it slightly more wearable, and I've had a lot of fun playing with this shade, and I'm really happy that it did get rolled into this project, but since it has been in for the 2 months, I will be rolling it out. I definitely utilize that 2-month rule most often within this project just because it helps me cycle through the shades within my collection a little bit more than waiting months before I end up hitting pan or a usage goal. So I know I definitely got some good use on the shade, more than I would have if it wasn't in this project, and I personally am very happy with that, so I am definitely ready to roll something new in. Alright, then the final shade I have been working on comes from my Kai Love Rococo palette, and it is the shade Courtship. So Courtship is this lighter matte brown shade at the top. I feel like I got kind of lucky with this shade, with it being a neutral in such a fun, colorful palette. So this past month I have reached for it 4 times, and it has only been in for the 1 month, so this one will be staying in since I haven't met any goals yet, and I'm definitely happy it's staying in. One, this is a very easy shade for me to reach for. I know 4 uses doesn't seem like a lot, but for me that is a pretty good number, and I feel like I can get that same amount or maybe more for next month if I continue to focus in on it like I have been, and I definitely want to focus on using the rest of this palette as well. I feel like I have primarily focused on the neutral shades within this palette with Courtship, and I definitely want to reach for like this bottom half a little bit more and dig into some of the more colorful shades because I do really enjoy them. I just haven't reached for them as much quite yet, so this one is going to be staying in, and hopefully I will be able to get some good use on this palette as a whole rather than just focusing in on a select few shades. So if you have been keeping track, that means we have 4 rollouts, all with that 2-month mark, and we get to roll in 4 new shades, which I'm super excited about. So I slightly changed the way that I roll in shades, and this is just to make sure I get use on all of my palettes instead of re-rolling in the same palettes over and over. So I have my Tiny Decisions wheel pulled up here, and this has all of my palettes in my collection on it. And the blacked out ones are palettes that have already been rolled in since I started doing this. So we still have a ton of palettes left to choose from, and I'm going to roll in our 4 new palettes, and then I will go ahead and randomize a shade from each one. Up first we have my Ulta Ravenclaw palette. ColourPop Midnight Masquerade. Nabla Dreamy. And our final roll-in, NYX Flamingo Frost. So I'm going to go grab all of those and be right back. So the first palette that got rolled in is my Ulta Ravenclaw palette, which is currently in my Expand the Pan project, which I will be updating pretty soon. But there are 9 shades in this palette, and I'm going to be rolling 1 to 9. If I get a shade that already has pan on it, I will go ahead and re-roll. So we get number 6, which is the shade Ghost. I'm so excited about that. That is one of my favorite, if not my favorite shade from this palette. So I am super excited about this one rolling in. Next up we have my Midnight Masquerade palette. So this one has 15 shades, and for this one specifically, if I get one of the pressed glitters, I am also going to re-roll, just because I don't really want to work on one of those. But we will roll around 1 to 15. And we get shade number 3, which is the shade Pip. This is another neutral matte shade. Looks kind of similar to Courtyard, but I am going to go for it since Courtyard does only have 1 more month in this project, and hopefully I will be able to reach for both of these. I am really excited that this palette is rolling in. This is one of my favorites in my collection, and I honestly feel like I haven't reached for it for a while, so I am definitely excited about getting some good use on this palette. Alright, next we have my Nabla Dreamy palette, and this one has 12 shades. I accidentally tapped already, but I'm going to go ahead and re-roll here. We get shade number 2. Okay, I might have to re-roll this one. This is the 3rd lighter matte brown shade, so I think I'm gonna re-roll just because I don't really want to work on 3 of similar shades. So we ended up with shade number 1, which is the shade Immaculate. I like that one a lot better, so that is going to be my choice for this one, and I'm super excited about this. This is not a palette I reach for a ton, so I am hoping to get some good use on it. And I feel like with the shade Immaculate, that is a really easy one to reach for, especially just a nice inner corner highlight. So I'm definitely looking forward to rolling that shade in and hopefully getting some good use on this palette as a whole as well. Alright, our last palette up is the NYX Flamingo Frost palette. This was their holiday release last year, and this could not be a more perfect time to work on this palette with Christmas coming up, so I'm super excited. So I have 1 to 16 in my Pretty Random app, and we get number 6. So that is this darker neutral type shimmer. Definitely not a shade I've reached for a ton, so that one will be a good one to reach into. I feel like I have a very neutral color story this month, but I am definitely excited about all of these new roll-ins. So those are the 5 shades I will be working on for this next month. I will go ahead and insert a picture of the swatches. This is quite possibly my most neutral color story that I've had within this project. Not that I'm complaining, I do love my neutrals and I am excited about these individual shades as well. I feel like I can get some good use, some good progress on them, so I am definitely excited. Let me know what you guys thought of this video, what you thought of this update. What sort of goals do you think I will be able to reach by next month? Give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future uploads. And with all of that said, I will see you in my next video. Bye!